Awesome, and we're live. So as mentioned, my name's Adam. We're going to be running through Sports Tracker as our main protocol for training today. So the screen we have in front of us here is basically the first screen you're going to run into when you log into your system. So this first page is where you pick your organization. This is just the fancy way of saying the school that you're from. You're pretty much always only going to have one organization in your account. This is effectively the groupings of students. So if you have different campuses where students are only relevant to one campus, then you might have multiple organizations. But if the students are the same across all your events, then you're just going to have the one in here. So you should just be set up with the one most likely. It's going to be very rare that you actually need multiple organizations. Um, on the left-hand side, you get a couple of options in here. So you can check out the administrators for your account, either add or remove some. You can check out the details for your account. So when it expires, what's your student limit, all that kind of fun stuff is listed here. What's new is just like a little news section there, and obviously support takes you through to our knowledge base. So if you need information about how to work through Sports Tracker or how individual actions are done, you can always check out the support option to get a rough idea to start with. And you can always give us a quick call or shoot us an email as well. But the little purple button here for the three little squares, this is basically like the accept or the confirm button. So you'll see this like throughout the portal. So we click on this one, it's going to take us into our Jubilee Christian College organization. Then this screen is basically we have the meets. So the meets is basically the school zine equivalent, the Sports Tracker equivalent of your carnival, basically. This is where you should create your swimming carnival, your cross country. They're going to be referred to as meets in the system. So you can create a new one at the very top up here. We'll cover that in just a moment, but that's basically what you click on to then begin this action. On the left-hand side, we've got some options over here. Collections is an option that I never really see used, so I wouldn't really worry about this too much for just general use, especially when we're just starting out. Settings allows you to change like individual options about your meets as like a global level. The administrators is basically you setting which admins that you created in the previous screen, which ones are connected to this organization. So you can change that here by dragging them into a list. Once again, don't really need to worry about this too much because everyone's going to be an admin for the account. So you just kind of drag everybody in. Students, just a list of all the students in your account. Looks like we've already got that set at the moment.
Yeah, I've populated that.
Yeah, so 279 in the account currently, so it appears to be all set up. That's all good. The teams, straightforward here. Once again, this is just the school houses. Scoring are your scoring schemes. Now, this is something you might want to change up, especially if you're doing all three, or you're going to get them all three ready to go, swimming, cross country, and athletics. Effectively, these scoring schemes are telling the system first place is worth this many points, second place is worth this many points, so on and so forth. So looking at our swimming one, we can see we've got this set up with 7 points for first place, 5 for second, and not 3 for third.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Broken record is worth 10, and then these other like secondary options are worth 0 for us. Now, with the athletics and the cross country, is this like the same point spread? Like, is first place in cross country, for example, worth the same as first place in swimming? And are you only doing first, second, and third? Also, if they are the same, then basically you need to have multiple scoring schemes. You can kind of just have the one setup that you would link to everything.
Yes, that's
some
what
people will
we're doing.
split them up. Yeah, perfect. So we probably would I would probably recommend renaming this from swimming to just like event scoring or just something more general, because it'll actually be an option you can pick from. And if you're creating your cross-country events with a swimming scoring scheme, it just kind of looks a little bit funny, and especially new people coming in and playing in the system, they may not have that context, and it might be a bit confusing in that sense. So I probably would rename it to something a bit more general, or you can create the additional ones if you wanted to, and then but they would all have the same point system. It really depends on what works for you guys, but you don't need to have multiple if they are the same point spread. And then records over here is just where like the high score records for your account are stored. So whenever someone breaks a record, it checks it and marks it up into here. I don't think you guys have had these in just yet.
No, I haven't yet.
Yeah, we can do that later. It's not something you need to worry about like immediately. You can kind of fill this in as you go.
Oh, and yeah, all your criteria is at the top for each record. Yep, sure.
Yes, yeah. So you basically change it. Am I searching for your date of birth, a year? Are we doing unders or years? What type of events is it? Is it swimming, athletics, or cross country? And then what's the age bracket and the gender for the races? And then it basically gives you the breakdown for those.
Fantastic.
And then once you have a record set, basically when it's broken in an event in Sports Tracker, it will automatically update the records over here as well. So basically once they're initially in there, you shouldn't have to touch them past that point.
Okay. And so does it tell you on the day that a record's broken once you've entered that time?
Yeah, for sure. So that will I'll run through like the exports that you do
All right.
have a little bit later, but yeah, you do get an option of showing which records were broken today, and it tells you which student broke them, what the new record is, what the old one was. And it also tells you on the event what the current record is as well. So you can
Good.
see all that information there. Cool. So jumping back across to the meat section, as I said, we'll go through creating a new one at the very top. But before we do that, any questions so far about any of these options here?
Not for me.
Nope,
They're
all good.
pretty self-explanatory.
It's all pretty straightforward so far. I'd just like to just jump in and make sure everyone's all okay. Cool. So to create a new one, at the very top, click the Create New, as the name suggests. You get the option between picking a real or a mock event. Effectively, there's no difference, at least from like how you guys are concerned. Like if you do a mock one, if you like do records, for example, it still updates records as it was a real one. Scores are still recorded, all that kind of fun stuff. The only real difference is that we over here at Sports Tracker, we have a record of all the meets that are going on any given week, just so we can kind of see what the load's going to be like. And if you do a mock one, it doesn't show up in that time schedule for us over here. So from an operational standpoint, it doesn't really matter which one you guys pick. So you can pick real or mock. We're just going to pick a mock one today just because we're doing training. But yeah, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day for you guys. So just going to call this one training meet. At the very top, we can give it a location. So we'll just go like school oval. Is wherever it's being housed. The date here, we're going to set it for the 30th of November, 2025. Starting at, ending at. This is functionally, in terms of like how like the system works, doesn't really matter. You can put whatever times you want into here. It's not going to break the system. For example, if you have different dates, it's not going to control like when events can be housed or anything like that. It's more just like for record keeping, and it keeps so if you have like the event schedule and stuff like that, you can see what dates and times are. The big one is going to be the date field, just because you have this upcoming meets and this past meets section. So
Yes.
effectively, if the date hasn't passed yet, it's going to be an upcoming meet. As soon as you get past that date, it then moves into the past meet section down here. So even if like let's say for example you have a multi-day carnival, day 1, 2, and 3, and if you put the date for it is the first day, on day 2, it's going to be counting as a past meet because we are past that current date. Very minor thing. It doesn't actually change it. Like you can obviously go in there and make changes and put scores in still. Like it doesn't change anything there. Just from a visual standpoint, it just moves it out of the upcoming and now it's a past meet, which can confuse some people. So that's the only thing this date field here controls. Don't worry about it too much. As I said, it still works fine. You then get the meet type here. So this is where you pick between either athletics, cross country, an other event, or a swimming. Basically pick whichever one is best required. We're going to doing a athletics one for our training purposes. We're just going to pick athletics. But effectively, this just changes the initial pool of events that you can pick from when you're creating it up. So you think, for example, if you pick an athletics meter type, you can't pick up the 100-meter backstroke because that's not an athletics event.
Sure.
So that's the only thing to keep in mind then. Now this is probably the most important part of this particular process. This is the age grouping. Basically, this is how you're going to want the events listed in your carnival or in your meet. So if you pick it by birth date, it's going to have either under 15 or 13-year-old, basically like whatever the age bracket of the student is. If you do year group, it's going to do whatever grade the students are in. So they're in year 7, year 6, whatever option we've got. That's the main difference here. The most common one is going to be birth date. A lot of people do go through that one.
Yep.
But you do have the option of the other one if you like.
That has the year that they're born in it, doesn't it?
Yeah, so they'll either be listed as like under X, whatever the age bracket is, which is basically this next field here. We can display as unders, or we can display as years. So if we do display as years, then it'll be like 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds, that kind of stuff.
Yes,
that's the most common. And if you're going to be using that one, that's perfect. If you do ever change it to the unders at any point, Sports Tracker has a different like terminology around that as like is more generally accepted in the sporting world. Effectively, we work in calendar years. So an under 15, for example, anyone turning 15 this year cannot participate because it is literally under 15. So it'd be 14-year-olds effectively is what that is. But if you're using years, sounds like that's going to be more applicable for you guys. Now, scoring method, we have the option for position and standards. This is something I didn't know about until I started working here. Basically, position is we only care about what position they're in, so first, second, third, and that's how you organize points for the meets. Standards is how well they participate in the event. determines how many points they earn. So if you run the race in 1 minute, you get this many points. If you run it in 1 minute and 10 seconds, you get this many points, so on and so forth. Most commonly, it's going to be position. That's pretty much what
Yes.
everyone uses, and based on your scoring scheme, that's what you guys have set up already.
Hmm.
But that's basically the difference here. So you're pretty much always going to leave this one as position based. Now, the bottom one is more so just bookkeeping purposes. So the first one is lanes start at 0. This is effectively if like your lanes in your pool start at 0, 1, 2, 3, as opposed to 1, 2, 3, 4. So you just toggle this on and off if you want to. Doesn't change anything functionally unless you are using a third-party tracking software. So if you're importing stuff from another, like Dolphin, for example, for your swimming carnivals, if the records in that are starting at lane 0, then you want that to match up with lane 0. So toggle this if you need it, otherwise ignore it. And the participating teams is basically the houses that are going to be participating in this event. Generally, that's going to be everybody. So you just turn everybody on and then we click save. Any questions about any of these settings here?
Nope. That's good.
Awesome. So click on save, it's going to create our meet. So we're going to put it in the very top up here. And we click the 4 dots to go into that meet there. So the first page is the meet progress page. This is basically telling you like how well the event's going so far. So you on the right-hand side, you get a live feed of results going in. So as you put results, you'll start seeing this populate with options. And this progress bar will go up basically as you finish events as well. So this is kind of where you first land when you check out the meet on the day. In the top right, we have the events option. This is probably where you're going to spend a lot of the time initially. This is where you put in the individual races. Now, as part of the valet service, when you're first starting out with us, you can basically create an event template that we have in our knowledge base. And basically you fill in all the details for that one, you give it through to us, and we're going to import it into the system for you. Some people find that a little bit tedious because you're taking time and putting it into the spreadsheet and then sending it up to us and waiting for that to get done. You can just put it straight into the system as well. So the very top here, you basically go event menu, create a new event at the very top, and then basically just putting in those event details straight into here, as opposed to putting it into a spreadsheet and then waiting for it to be processed. All the fields are basically the same. At the very top, you have the day, basically picking which day of the carnival is being run on. Oh, there we go. Got a new attendee. Afternoon. Your journey's about halfway through. Don't panic too much. We have the session recorded, so if you need to catch up on the first bit, we're all good. As long as you're comfortable with it being recorded, obviously. But we were just starting creating events into the system. So here, all the different settings that you have. At the very top is the day that it's being run on. As mentioned before, functionally, doesn't matter what day you're picking. The day and the time that is listed on the event basically dictate the order that the events are being listed in. So it'll first list all the day 1 events, and then we'll list them on the day by the time they're being run. And then I think after that one, it matches them based on the year group that they're in, and basically in alphabetical order for those. So yeah, for example, if you pick 9 a.m. for the 100-meter dash, and you're actually running that at 2 p.m. in the afternoon, doesn't matter from like a function standpoint. It's still going to work perfectly fine. It just builds out that order in the list for you. But yeah, so we're going to have day 1. We're going to have it at 9 a.m. in the morning. We're going to put this as the 100-meter dash, so this is our event type. Whole method options you can pick from in here. And so depending on what type of meet you've selected at the beginning, will change the selection that you have. If your event doesn't show up in here, so a lot of novelty events obviously won't be in here, like tunnel ball and stuff. You do have an option at the very bottom for a custom event, and basically you can pick on that one and change whatever settings you need.
Okay.
Description here, self-explanatory. Allows you to put a description in for the event. The measurement is the order of results basically you're putting through. So for example, it's going to start off with time, seconds, and milliseconds. We can change that to minutes, hours, whatever is relevant for us. Or you can do just a straight position, which basically means that we only care about who's in first, who's in second, and then score if they have a score associated with it. So if it's point-based, you can do that there.
Question on that. So we do position, but we keep times obviously for our records. So how do we do that?
So we do have an option at the very bottom here for allow results / place mixed. So basically this is like if we only care about having first, second, and third, they get times because we need to know what those times are. Everyone else, we don't really care about what time they ran it in. We just need to know what position they ran the race in.
Yeah.
You can toggle that on there. So, and then that basically gives you an option for each student. You can either toggle it for time or position. And then you put in either a time placement or a position placement, depending on what you need. So that's probably how you're going to do that one. Otherwise, I say if everyone's getting a time or if everyone's getting a position, then you just change the measurement at the very top up here.
Yeah,
But as
it's
mentioned,
usually
like
only the top three for
so you basically
times
using
and
this allow
position.
result. Yeah, you're using this option then. So you basically do, allow result place mixed yes, and then measurement is whatever time is relevant for that event.
Okay.
So for example, 100 meters is typically ran in seconds. However, what you might find is younger students in year ones or kindy, for example, they're not going to run that in seconds. They're going to run that in minutes instead. So you can change this to match. So we can update it to be minutes, seconds, and milliseconds if we needed it to do so.
Okay.
Um, and then we basically pick a gender and an age bracket. Um, we did pick years at the very beginning, however, it's coming through as unders. This is just a visual thing. If you think of it, basically one below it. So under 10s is technically 9s, under 11s is 10s. When we save it and edit it, will come back in. But it just seems like a visual thing initially when you jump into it.
Perfect.
Should be okay. I think that's being worked on and fixed, but at the moment, that's how that comes through. Participation type, individual or team. This is basically if individuals are running it or if it's a team-based event. You basically adjust that as needed. The scoring position as stand is the same as beforehand. You're pretty much always going to leave this as position based. You don't really want to change this option here.
Mm-hmm.
The scoring scheme, this is what we're talking about before, where you can pick whichever scoring scheme is relevant to this particular event, which is probably why I recommend changing it to something a bit more generic because we're currently in the athletics and we're picking a swimming scoring, which kind of seems odd. It's still going to work fine. It just reads incorrectly for us. So recommend naming that a little bit more appropriately. Now, champion student allocation, this is one you might want to put a bit of thought into sometimes. Effectively, this means we can either do add scores to team and individuals or add scores to team only. This is effectively for your champion students or your age champions. So this means the top one is the default. This means that when the student runs it, any points they earn are allocated against themselves as well as against their house score. So they're earning it for both places. Whereas if it's team only, then basically if they don't earn points for themselves, they're only earning points for their house total. So it won't contribute to their age champion scores. If you're doing a team-based event, it's pretty much locks you into doing a team-only option because you're only running teams. But yeah, the default will usually be the top option because you do want to put through your champion students at the end of the day. Now you do have the option here for heats. You can toggle this on to yes if you do, it gives you a bunch of extra options you can pick from. Now this is something that does get kind of misunderstood initially when they go through. So I'll quickly just run through a bit of a spiel and then I'll get an idea from you guys how you're going to want to run the day. But a lot of people will think, okay, we have 16 students that are running this race, but we only have 4 lanes available for us to run the race. So I need to have 4 heats. They're going to have all those individual students, and then that's going to tell me who came first all the way through. That's not exactly how this is going to work. So heats in Sports Tracker are usually used as a qualifier. So you basically have your 4 qualifying races, and then the best performers from each of those go through into a final race, and you run that final race, which then gives you your first, second, third, and fourth place position. In that first example, where basically we have enough students, we just don't have enough lanes on the track, we need to run them as 4 individual races on the day. Sports Tracker does not care how that's actually run. As long as the data going into the system is correct, that's the only thing it really cares about. So in this particular case, we wouldn't actually have heats listed as no. We would run our 4 individual races on the actual day, and then in the event, basically, we'd have all 16 students. We put all their time/places in, and then we click save. And it's going to update that one for us. It's going to give us our first place all the way through to last place over those 4 races, regardless of what the times were.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So if you are running, like I say, if you have a qualifier or if you do have that heat system kind of being run, then you would click yes. If it's simply we just don't have enough lanes available, we need to run it in multiple races, you don't have to run heats for that. You can just run a single final race, and then you just put the times in for it as normal.
Okay. That's probably what we're doing.
Yeah, so what most people will do anyway is but if they don't have any a guidance initially, everyone goes, we'll put heats in, and then they wonder, where's all my points at? Why are things different? Why do I have double first places? And yeah, it gets a bit messy. So I always like to cover that one initially just to kind of get clear the air on that one. But if you ever do run the heats, I'll just run through the settings, just what they do, so you have that information for you. Basically, it's telling how many heats do you need, so how many individual races are you going to be running. Number per heats is how many students are going to be linked in those races. So in the previous example, we would need 4 heats of 4 students because it's 16 total. Limit number per team. If you want to say only 3 people from a particular house can compete on each one, you could do that. Number to go 3 is how many first places or how many positions from each. Sorry,
Each race.
incorrect. Yeah, so
Each heat.
kind of so. Uh, Explained it poorly, but basically the number to go through is how many will be in the final. So in this case, I want to have the 4 best performers are going to go through into the final. So I have 4 people in that final race as well.
Okay.
The final method is basically, do we want the best overall, so the best performers regardless of what's going on, the best per team, so the best runners in each team would progress, or the best per heat would progress. So first place in each heat would go through to the final race. Basically, to pick that however you like. Heat scoring, yes or no. This is another setting that gets misunderstood a little bit. We don't have to worry about it too much because you're not going to be using this, but a lot of people think heat scoring, yes, means that scores are being assigned to heats. If I pick no, then they're not going to be scored. Not how this works. What this is asking is, do you need a custom set of points for your heats, yes or no? So if you do yes, it's saying, okay, what scheme are we going to be applying to our heats? And then what scheme is going to be applied to the final? So this is where you would have, heats are worth 0 points and the final is worth normal points. So you'd have a separate heat scoring scheme where everything was set to 0. That's basically what this means. If you go no, then it uses the same for both, which in the previous example means you can have multiple first places. So people will earn first place points for their heat and then first place again for their final, which you may not need. And then the run final, yes or no, like you can have here to basically say we're not actually going to run that finished final. But once again, it kind of just ends up being like more complicated than it needs to be. And if you usually need to edit an event that has heats, it can cause problems where like the settings get overlapped and stuff like that. So yeah, it's one of these things that I recommend don't use the heats unless you absolutely have to.
Yep.
If you can get away with like not needing, if you just need to run them in one, just run them in one.
Gotcha.
And then the allow result / place mix, talked about just before, basically this allows you to do a mixture of times and position. So sounds on based on what you guys described before, you are going to be wanting to use this. So you click on yes, and then you go save. And now our race has been created. We basically rinse and repeat that until we're finished. We put everybody, all those events in. And then we can go through and we can start linking students to the events. Before I go through that particular step, any questions about anything so far? Because we did a lot of information just then.
So that all started from setting up a new meet, yeah?
Correct. Yes, we're starting a new meet, and now that we're in the meet now, we're creating individual events, is like the wording that Sports Tracker uses.
Yeah. Okay.
So you have organization, which is your school, meets, which is the carnival, and then events, which is your races.
Yeah. All right. Thanks.
So in order to link students, basically got 2 main methods. The first one is you can go to this little people icon over here. You go to the participants option, and then basically it tells you who's available in this race. We can toggle them in, add them across into the race over here. You can also allow younger and allow older participants. So if you have, for example, a combined year level race, you'd basically pick either the older bracket or the younger bracket, whichever one is being, whichever is the main one, and then you do the allow younger or older, then select the other age bracket. The difference is it will
where
kind
you
of
clicked on that, Adam. Sorry.
Where did you from go? The events menu.
Yep.
So we can click on this little people icon here.
Oh yeah, good. Yep.
And yeah, basically you can toggle the allow older or the allow younger. So the issue that you run into that one is that if, for example, you pick the kindy bracket and you pick the allow older, everyone older than kindy can participate. So you see a much larger list to pick from. They won't all just be automatically assigned, but it basically means you have to sift through a lot more age brackets. So that's the only thing to keep in mind there. But there is a filter option. So if you need to search for someone in particular, you can just type in their name and it brings up their name. The other option that you do have is under the event menu, you have this option for assign all pools. This basically means, hey, can you participate? Yes or no. If the answer is yes, you are now in that race. So it kind of brings everybody who can participate and links them to every possible event. So this is usually a bit easier when you have like a lot of students and you are pretty confident that most, if not everybody, will be participating because you can kind of just link everybody across. You don't need to worry about filtering it out. If you want to control or be like a bit more specific on who's actually going to be competing on the day, then you would use the individual option here, and then you just check mark whoever's going to be participating.
Right. Okay.
In this case, we'll just pick 3 members, 1 from each house. would go assign checked. It's going to move them over here to our assigned students pool. So it's going to tell us, who's in which lane. We'll rearrange this one if we like. Doesn't really matter from like a function perspective, as it's more so just like, hey, this is in this particular lane. It does show up on your marshalling sheets though. So if it's a little bit easier to understand, okay, you're in this lane, you're in this lane, and you can mark everybody off, then obviously set them up. But generally, it won't change like the actual function of the account. It still works fine no matter what. But then when you're happy with that, we go assign lanes, go and lock them in, and then we can go enter result at the very top. Or if we have done that, if we've assigned everybody like a couple of days beforehand and you're on the actual running of the day, then you can go to the three little lines on this page here. So under the events menu, you go to three little lines for that result. And that's going to take you into the result entry for this person, or for this event, sorry. And then basically you just put in the times for the students. Anyone who like doesn't have a time, you can toggle this place entry, and then you can put in their position instead. So we could do a time, and then position for them if we wanted to.
Righto. So if for some reason a stopwatch malfunctions, you can still put their place in.
Yeah, or in the previous example where like you're only timing first, second, and third place, and then everybody else, we don't really care what time they're in. We just need to know what position they ran in.
Yeah.
You basically put in first, second, and third, and then everyone else would just be a place toggle, and then you just give them 4th through to 16th.
All right. Now, see on the right there, you've got disqualified, did not finish, did not DNP is did not participate. Yeah, okay. So you just scroll over it.
Yeah, okay. If you mouse over, it gives you a little like tooltip on what it means. But effectively, you're just clicking whichever one is relevant. Yeah.
Okay.
Functionally, it's quite easy there. But basically, once you've got your times assigned, I won't put anything in just yet, just because I don't want to like mess with the system too much. But basically, once you've assigned your times and your places, you click the save button down the very bottom. It'll then recalculate everything and then put everyone in the correct order. So first place and first place. It'll also tell you what points they've earned on this right-hand side as well. So you'll be able to see, first place got 7, second place got 5, so on and so forth. And then you just kind of rinse and repeat that until you're finished, until everyone's all done. So that's like entry and results and stuff like that. Any questions about any of that?
It's got what it is. It's we're doing athletics. Yep, sorry. Yep, okay. So if it was swimming, it'd say 50 meters or 25. Does it have an option for 25 meters? Because for our younger kids, we do 25-meter races.
I believe so. I go
custom
we can't check it on here to create a new one. But yeah, in the case, basically when you're creating the swimming one, these here would be a little bit different. For 25 like races.
And then you said down the bottom there was a custom.
You do the custom one, yes.
Yeah.
So cool. Looks like the smallest meter instance we have is 50 meter.
Oh, they're not worried about that with the athletics. I think our mine, the smallest is 70, and I see you have that there. So, but it's more with the swimming.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure swimming does have 25 meter, but yeah, if it doesn't exist, there is that custom option at the very bottom, so you can just assign that.
Fantastic.
And then you should be all good.
All
right. Yes, some like quality of life stuff for you. So basically, you can do all that from this events menu. You do have on the right-hand side down here, you have this option for result entry. This basically takes you through and shows you which races don't yet have scores. So we can click in here, we can go to the results for the 100-meter dash, and then when that's finished, at the very top there's this completed tab, and then basically tell you which ones we've actually completed for the day. So as you like check mark or finish off your races for the day, this will basically get less and less. And you can kind of see which ones haven't had scores entered. So if anything's been missed, for example, you can see that from this section rather than having to filter through the entire list of 250 events and find which one's missing. You can just kind of get around that by using this result entry section instead.
Okay, all right. So if this person sets a record, where does that show up on our screen?
Yeah, so you don't, unfortunately, you don't get like a pop-up saying, hey, a record's been broken. Congratulations, Tyson. However, if you go into the results, it tells us at the very top here the current record. So if there's a record being housed, it will tell you who holds it and what the record is, and also what date it was entered into the system for. So if someone breaks a record here, this would then automatically update and go, be today's date for Joseph. He won. He got a best time, and it'll tell you here. Outside of that, at the very bottom, we have the results export. This is like the end of day results when everything's all finished. you then have your records set export. And this will basically give you a list of all the records that have been broken for the given day.
Okay.
So you won't get like a pop-up saying, congratulations, this has been done. I think there is an email that gets sent, but the emails have been a little bit shaky lately. So if the email doesn't come through, as I said, you'll at the very least be able to get the export from here. So basically, before you announce anything, you just come in here, export that out, and give that a quick look.
And that's in
results exports.
Results exports. Yep.
Yes, on the very bottom. So these ones are all like the end of day thing when everything's all finished, said and done. This is where you get all those ones. For the running of the day resources, that's what this export option in the middle is for. Basically, you can pick between an event schedule, which is just a list of all the events and what times they're being run on. So this is best based on the time the event has set for it. So this one would be 9 a.m., for example.
Okay.
The marshalling sheets is a list of all the events with all of the students that are connected to it. So you can kind of see who's where, and then you can use that to write out the results on the day. So if you need like everyone disperses and handles their own sort of events, you can give them those marshalling sheets.
So you generate, you print them there?
Yeah, generate would basically create the PDF, and then you can download that to your computer to then print off and do whatever you need to with it.
Brilliant.
The blank event sheets is the exact same as the marshalling sheets, except it doesn't have any students listed on it. It basically just says a 100-meter dash. Here's an empty table. So that works really well if you have like a very fluid start line where it's not really going to be set in stone. People show up, people don't. You can kind of write down who actually shows up on the day, and then you'd hand that in to the result desk, and they would fill it out however they need to. Participants by team, exactly. So it just gives you all the participants based on the team that they're in, lane slips if you need them, and any current records that have been that are currently listed. So if you want to get a list of what records are there to be broken, you can generate that here.
Okay, lane slips. Sorry, could you explain that?
Excellent question.
What's meant by that?
I actually am not sure. I've never used lane slips myself. I believe it basically tells you these are the lanes that are being run, and these are the students. I can confirm that for you before we run off too far, but I've never really had anyone use this one. Usually it's going to be these first three, and then even then, usually the first two, depending if you need like the blank option to go through.
All right.
So this is all the PDF resources that we have. You then have the option for Excel records down here. So basically, this just means this is the format that's going to be printed off to you. So these ones will all be PDFs. These ones will all be Excels. This is a web export, and these are event exports. Once again, same sort of thing.
Web exports. I usually have to send over to the district office our results in Meet Manager format, and you're saying a export here. Will that match up with what they've got, or will it match up with Meet Manager?
I haven't used Meet Manager, so there's no export directly for Meet Manager. Effectively, this web export, I'm pretty sure, is just this feed option. If I go to here, for example, this Meet feed is basically telling you, hey, this is like what's going on in real time. This is a way of exporting that in a web-based format, so you can then put that onto a website or something, so people can see the progressive results. Is basically what this is for.
Okay.
But it basically means that we can't export the blank events as an Excel spreadsheet because it's only limited to the PDF export. So whatever category it's in, you can only get it in that particular format. Is the only thing to keep in mind.
All right.
Sweet. That's honestly pretty much it in terms of just the general running of Sports Tracker. So in terms of how you guys want to use it, I'll basically put the questions up to you guys, or the floor over to you. Is there anything in particular that you're going to want to run through, or anything that you want me to revisit or talk about, or something that you were hoping to do that we didn't talk about today that I can help you out and help you understand with?
Probably an example of doing a swim carnival scene that's next for us would be good.
Cool. So the swimming is pretty much the exact same in terms of the construction. So if we exit this meet, we can go create new. Let's do another one just because we're here. Just call it training swim. Once again, we'll give it a date. So let's just go 30th 11 25 again. 9 a.m. So 4 p.m. is going to be a swimming one. You'll do birth date, years, position, and everybody. Oh, okay, so school pool. So training swim, pretty much go into the 4 dots again. Same sort of layout under events over here, which create our events again. So event menu, create new, and then basically filling in the same sort of stuff. So day 1 at say 9, it's going to be a 25-meter freestyle.
Oh, good. Yeah, so it is there. That's brilliant.
Yep. And let's do boys under
So then you just go
11s.
through and do all of your events. Yep.
Pretty much the exact same settings that we had before. Nothing's really different in like between swimming and athletics. So just save, puts it in, and then we can do the same participants, enter the results. Everything there's still exactly the same. So yeah, pretty much the same process. Nothing really different there. Even all the exports and everything are still the exact same as well. So nothing really changes between those 2 different event types. The only thing that's different is the type of events that you can pick from. So these event type here will be tailored based on the type of carnival that you've selected. That does kind of mean that you can't do like a mixed one. So you can't do cross country and athletics in the same section unless you're doing those custom events that we talked about before.
Okay, all right. Very good. Currently, what I sent through and has been imported is what our current teams are. We've been asked by a principal to work on a proposal to get the teams more even rather than 100, 160, which we've got a proposal together for. How can we reassign students into different teams? Is that something sports tracker staff have to do, or can we do that?
So you can go into the student section over here, and basically you can edit any student, and we can change what house they're assigned to.
Okay, so you can assign them there.
Yeah, so you can do it that way. The other alternative would be pretty much the same way that we did it initially. You get an Excel spreadsheet up with all the student details, what houses they are now going to be in, so the correct house.
Yep.
We would then go through and we basically delete everybody out of the system, and we'd re-import the new list and just put them all in that way.
Okay.
Both options are fine. It's really going to depend on what works for you. If you're going to find it easy just to, we're changing this one to this one, this one to that one, that might be a bit easier for you to work through. But yeah, that's the 2 main options that you do have.
Brilliant. Okay.
I will kind of just expand on like that particular process just for future proofing purposes. So when you put a meet together and you put students through, we save results, away we go. Those scores that are put into the system, they're connected to the student. So if we go into here, get results, champion students, actually we're not going to have anybody because we don't have any points going through. But if we do save points, each of those individual students have their points assigned to them. This does mean that if you delete that student, it's going to delete any points that were associated with them. So any like historical data of past mates, it's going to have all those scores removed because they are linked to the student, not to like the system. So it basically means at the beginning of the year, for example, when you're removing all the old students, adding in all the new ones, you may be impacting those previous carnivals. So we always recommend that you do any sort of export before you do any sort of large scale changes to the contacts. So basically going into the event, go to the results export and just get the all results, the champion students, maybe even the records set. Generally, people will do the all results and the team scores as the 2 main ones, and then they kind of just get anything else that they want. But basically, you get all those exports first, and then we can go through and we can delete all the students from the system and then import the new up-to-date list for the year.
Okay. This is a pretty major change up of our teams, and yeah, that's only going to be done once. And like you say, 12's dropping off, and new preps and new students getting added on to new teams. It shouldn't be any shake up after that.
Yeah, so it's pretty much just like the beginning of the year sort of changeover when you have that new enrollment period or like the midway period. Basically, when you have like large scale shifts in the students at the school. And then depending on like your athletics like timetable, for example, is that you might get all those done before you have any sort of large scale changes. Because if it's only like a student here or there, you can add or remove them individually. But if it's like 30, 40 kids being added, then you may want to do the bulk option instead.
Okay. All right. Very good.
Any other questions?
Sean, Sil?
Sounds like we might be all good.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, we'll be around for support anyway. So like if you guys do have any questions like on the running of the day or like while you're putting your information together, like you definitely give us a quick call, give us an email, anything like that. We're more than happy to answer questions that come up. But as I said, you will have this recording here that you can go back to. I'll try and get that sent through to you guys either today or like later this week. But that should be all fine. But yeah, the support here is unlimited and all the rest of it. So it should be all good.
Yeah.
I'll stop the recording there unless anyone has any questions they want to run through.
Sorry.
You're okay. So yeah, I'll stop the recording there and then we should in theory be all good to go.